Just like that. We're back.
We're back.
We made it.
We made it all the way back to your screen or your ears or whatever the hell you're listening to us on. We are Side After Dark.
We are.
I'm Dan Berg.
I'm Sifa Graffiti.
And we're also the Music Maniacs. And we're bringing the Music Maniacs podcast to you wherever you are because we love music and that's all we want to talk about.
Everything is about music.
So today,
we are talking
about possibly
the voice of
the world.
Definitely of a century.
I was going to say possibly the most famous American singer that's ever lived.
Yeah.
I feel like the only possible competition is like Elvis and Michael Jackson.
Elvis, Michael Jackson, Billie Holiday, probably.
So if you haven't figured it out yet, we are talking about Francis Albert Sinatra.
Mm-hmm. Or, as we know him, Francis Ford Sinatra.
Frankie doing all the cool things with the voice.
Uh-huh.
All the legendary things that you could possibly do.
Uh-huh.
So this is the thing. So we're a band, right? We make music.
Yep.
And all we want to do is talk about music. And that's why we did this. So this is going to be a really special topic because it's like the most known. I mean, there's no words to describe how great Frank Sinatra is, how cool the motherfucker was.
I actually never heard of him before I started researching him. So
You're like, Frank who?
yeah, I'll have to I found it all out just like 2-3 days ago.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be talking. We're going to be conversing. We want you to converse with us. So leave a comment. Say what you think. Say if you agree. Say if you disagree. Say if there's anything we missed. We appreciate it. And without further ado,
let's talk about Frank Sinatra.
So our boy Frank was born in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yes, in 1915.
1915. So let's stop and think about that for a second.
Yeah.
That is coming up on 110 years ago.
Yeah. They actually did a PBS documentary on him when it would have been his 100th birthday in 2015, and I could not believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even when he got older, he seemed still youthful, and I was like, he would have been 100?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I feel like he just died.
I know, it is so crazy because we're talking about somebody that was born over 100 years ago, and this is a person that pretty much everyone on the planet still knows who he is. Mm-hmm. This is why I think he might be the most famous, I want to say American singer, or maybe just even singer, ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, who doesn't know who this guy is?
I said I didn't.
Besides you.
Okay.
Everyone else. Do you guys know? Have you guys ever heard of him?
Yeah. Let me know all about him. I swear. I don't know how this guy passed me by, but.
Yeah, you really had a glaring hole in your music knowledge.
Yeah. I had no idea who this person was. And I grew up here in New York, too. It's the strangest thing.
Well, it's not like you grew up in Hoboken. That would be crazy.
Then I would know, right?
Then you would know.
Yeah, because it's like I'm in New York. It's not like he made songs about New York or anything like that.
Not.
So it's
he would never do that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no one likes the city.
Okay.
So Frank was born out in Hoboken. So right off the bat, he was scarred on his face because he was delivered from forceps.
Yeah.
So we already had an interesting start to the world.
Yeah. 13-pound baby. Mamma mia. Can I say it now? Can I say it right now? 13-pound baby Frank was. They actually thought he was stillborn. They tossed him to the side and just took care of his mother. I'm not even lying here.
That's wild.
They didn't toss him, but they probably did. It was 1915. So they tossed him, and then it was just his grandmother that was like, this baby's not dead. So she went and she's like beating him on the back and running cold water on him. And then Old Blue Eyes started to sing. And there he was.
Right there.
Right
there.
Right
then and there.
He said, when I was 2 years old.
It was a very good year. So he was the only child to his parents. So his mom was involved in like basically everything.
Yeah,
in Hoboken.
She was like a runner. Like, I'm just gonna call her a runner. She did abortions. She did some midwifing. Mm-hmm. She was playing the slots. Like she was gambling. She was everywhere.
She was involved in politics.
Exactly. They called her Dolly because she was so cute when she was little that she looked just like a doll. So that's what they called her. Serious.
And there you go.
I'm always joking on this, but I'm actually telling the truth. Such outrageous stories, but they're actually the truth.
Yeah, and it'll come back later, but she knew like everybody in Hoboken, and that'll come up later in the story.
Yeah.
And then his father was actually like the fire department captain.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nice.
Marty. Yeah.
It was pretty decent.
Yeah.
So they actually had a decent amount of money growing up.
Mm-hmm.
When pretty much all of Frank's friends didn't really have
Yeah.
any money.
Frank was rich and they was broke.
But it's really interesting because since he was an only child, which back then was even way more rare,
Yeah.
he really had to learn how to fend for himself from a pretty early age because
Yeah.
his dad was always working, his mom was always running around doing fucking whatever.
Yeah.
So he was just kind of left to his own devices.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense when you like see him in his whole like style. It's like, yeah, he had to figure it out by himself.
Yeah, he grew up pretty tough. His mom was a little free hands too. One time she like threw him down the stairs and knocked him out. Like he got knocked out from that too. So he was a pretty tough kid. And when he was out in the streets, yeah, definitely not afraid of fending for himself because it's like, when you got a home life like
Yeah.
you do, it's just like streets, what street?
Yeah. And this is a guy that was never afraid of fighting anyone.
No.
I heard a story that he was walking down the street and someone called him a wop.
Uh-oh.
That was like way bigger than him, and his friend was just like, just keep walking. Don't. He's like, no fucking way, no way. There's no way this guy's getting away with that. And he goes up and he gets his ass beat. And he was like, yeah, but I bet he'll never call me a wop again.
Never
And
again.
then the same exact thing happened 2 days later, and he got his ass beat again by the same guy.
That is so crazy. And like, he had a hot temper, Frank. And when he was like 11 years old, I heard that he was just looking at the scar on his ear and he was upset about it. And he was really contemplating going to go beat up the doctor that worked on his ear. And he actually went to the doctor's office. The doctor happened to not be there at the time. So Frank didn't get to beat him up at 11.
Wow. So long story short, young Frank Sinatra loved to fight. Dude was all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of is what it is. He dropped out of school when he was like 15 or 16.
Yeah, and that's kind of normal for those days. I would say that was normal even up until like early 80s, late 70s. A lot of people were like, oh, I'm not going to go to school. I'm going to work.
Yeah.
And that was normal.
Yeah, and he wanted to be a singer. I believe his uncle got him a ukulele for his 15th birthday. And
Yeah.
that was like he was really into it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he dropped out of school and he was like, I'm going to be a singer.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to New York City and I'm going to be a singer.
Yeah.
Right?
So he found a couple of guys to sing with, right? And these guys were called what? Like they were three of them. They were called the Four,
The Hoboken Four.
the Hoboken Four, and it was just three of them. Those guys used to beat him up sometimes too, because Frank, just in case you guys didn't know, was pretty good looking. He's a nice looking boy, so he would be singing out with those other guys and getting all the ladies and all the girls, and they would be pissed AF, and sometimes they would beat him up. This is so interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good way to keep the band together.
No. So he knew he was better than all of them, though, and he knew he was the main attraction. So Frank most likely said, "Fuck these guys. I'm going to do this shit by myself," and that's most likely a quote.
I mean, I would be disappointed if that wasn't a quote. Do they know who I am? I'm Frank fucking Sinatra, okay?
That's right.
But yeah. So and then he went to the city and tried to make it by himself, and it didn't really work out the first time.
No.
He ran out of money. He ran out of food. He didn't have a place to stay, so we had to like crawl back to Hoboken. And his family was kind of like, "You want to be a singer or what? You want to be a bum? You go be a bum on your own time."
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So he gets a job as a singing waiter now, and he's
Just like Billie Holiday.
yeah. That's true.
I just thought of that.
They're twins. So he gets a job as a singing waiter. He's serving the food and singing, and somebody hears him sing, and it's like, I like this kid.
He's got something.
He's got something that could take him 100 years into the future. So he gets heard, and then he starts singing on his own.
Yeah, so he was singing around, getting into a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
He met a nice girl named Nancy.
Uh-huh.
And they got married.
Oh.
And he was singing in a bar and was discovered by, I believe his name was Harry James, a band leader, who was like, this guy's got it. He's got something. I don't know what it is, but I like it.
They're all talking in their transatlantic accents.
Hey, this kid, I saw him. He's out from Jersey. He's got something good going on. I don't know. I think we should put some trust in him. Yeah, so he starts touring with them, which is cool because it's really his first time like touring. You know, being like going to a lot of places and seeing a lot of things and really being outside of like Jersey.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And, you know, that's always a good thing to expand your worldview and things like that. But he was a little too good for that band.
That Frank, he had something.
Because he basically got poached by a way more famous band leader
Yes.
named Tommy Dorsey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this is kind of, it's funny. It's pretty funny, the like the story, like him coming up. It's just like step by step. I'm gonna do this until I get something better, and then I'm gonna do this until I get something better, and that's exactly how it went with him.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people want to do that, but that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That should be the way for everybody. Damn it.
Yeah.
But some of you don't know how to pay attention. No, I'm just kidding.
But that was another thing is so now the other band was touring like at the East Coast or like the Northeast.
Yeah.
Tommy Dorsey was doing the whole country.
Yes.
So now he's going everywhere. He's seeing what Hollywood is like. You know, he's seeing the entire country. He's getting so much more experience, and he's getting a lot more notoriety.
Yeah, and he's really becoming a teen sensation now. You know, his voice is great. It's weird. He's got the face of an older man, the body of a teenager, and, you know, the credentials to say that he's a teenager, but his voice and his face are just like 30 years older than he is.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is funny when you say it. He had the body of a teenager and the face of an old man. But in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
That was always strange for me.
And those blue eyes.
Now I'm like looking at research and now it looks normal. But when I was a kid and I used to see him when he was young, it was weird for me because like I saw him as an old man in like time, and then he was like, it was like he had the same face, but they put the face on different hair and a different body, like what they did in Captain America. Like, that's what it's like.
I think of his mugshot really stand out to me about that. Like what he got arrested for committing adultery or some shit.
Yes.
And
oh
his
my gosh.
mugshot, he looks in his face. He looks like he's probably 40.
Yeah.
But you could tell that he's young.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get back to the arrest.
We'll get back to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to get ahead of ourselves.
So Dorsey.
So Dorsey, he was getting a lot bigger with Tommy Dorsey, and they even showed up in a movie, Ship Ahoy, I believe.
Yep, Ships Ahoy. That's his first one, and that's crazy because that one is a huge one.
Yeah, and he's basically the front man of this group. So obviously the camera's on him.
Yeah,
and the camera kind of likes old Frankie boy.
Yep.
You know, people also like looking at old Frankie boy.
Yep.
So after they showed up in that movie, it's like it kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Skyrockets him into fame. But like while he's going through his like trajectory and stuff like that, there's a little underlying thing. You know, his last name ends with a vowel, and people are like, I don't know. This guy seems pretty close to his roots. Is he kind of mob related? We don't know. We're not sure.
Is he friends with the mob?
We're not sure. I do want to say he and Lucky Luciano are about the same age. Their families are from the exact village in Italy, okay? And they came over here around the same time. And they did meet with each other on a couple occasions.
They may have met with each other a few times.
Frank and Charles. So you guys, you figure it out.
You can connect the dots. I believe in you guys. But yeah, so he's getting bigger, especially after they made that movie appearance.
Yep.
Because back in the day, there's only so many movies coming out. You don't stay home and watch TV. You go out to the movie. That's the only way you're gonna see it.
Yeah.
So many people would see you by having that one appearance in the movie. Mm-hmm. And so here it comes. He's getting bigger and bigger. It's time to switch things up again. Mm-hmm. He says, "Hey, Tommy. Hey, hey, Mr. Dorsey. This has been cool and all, but I'm clearly the star here, so I'm gonna do my own thing. Okay? Is that cool with you?
What was the lingo back there? I gotta skate.
I gotta skip town. Okay? and Tommy Dorsey was pissed.
Hell yeah, because that's his golden goose.
That's his golden goose, and he's like, "Yeah, okay. Well, I'm still getting a third of your money."
All right.
Until certain friends of Frank get involved with that.
They had a talk with Tommy.
They had a certain talk.
They might have made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
There may have been some cement shoes involved. Mm-hmm. Or at least the threat of cement.
Yeah. So they had to let Frank go.
Yes. So Frank got out of the contract. That's all we're going to say. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, so he goes solo after that.
Yeah.
And he made his solo debut on his 27th birthday.
He did.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I actually did not know that until recently.
No, I didn't know that either. No, that he made that solo debut. And that's crazy, I think.
And from that, I mean, literally from that first show, like, it's becoming a sensation. It's becoming, I don't know why they called them teeny boppers. They're teenagers and they're bopping around.
I guess so.
It just seems like a goofy kind of word.
Yeah, because the bop is, that's part of their musical culture back then, right?
Yeah.
Who put the bop in the bop, shabop, whatever. And then there's the big bopper,
Beat up, boop, boop. Yeah.
the guy that used to be on the thing. And then Oh, that's at the Hop.
That
Never
was later,
mind.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like in the 50s, I think.
That's like the 50s. Yeah.
'Cause he died in the plane crash with Buddy Holly, right?
Yes.
Big Bopper?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's like part of the teen lingo-ish, kind of.
Yeah. So basically, he was like every teenage girl's fantasy. He was like, it was like the original Beatlemania.
Yeah.
Like he just can't even walk down the street without people screaming. And at the shows, girls, this is the whole, like, he invented that. Like,
Yeah.
that didn't happen before Frank Sinatra.
And when that happened, they did a whole bunch of case studies because it was extremely abnormal. Like, even Nancy Sinatra was like, that was like almost like inhuman,
Yeah.
the way that the girls would just scream like that. That's not healthy, girls. And I don't know why our culture is like that, to do that to celebrities or to people that, you know, we hear singing and stuff like that. It is kind of odd.
If I saw Frank Sinatra on the street, I'd scream.
I would not scream. I'd say, "Oh, that's Frank Sinatra."
I'd be like, "Oh my God, Frank, I love you so much." He's like, "Get the fuck away from me."
When I was 12, I did scream when I saw somebody at the mall that was a singer, that was like an R&B singer. I did. Like, I didn't. Yeah, I did. I still think it's abnormal, though.
Guilty.
I did. They thought I was crazy. Like, but yeah, so they're all screaming and stuff, and they're doing case studies about American girls as like, why are they acting
Why
like
are
this?
they so insane?
This is like a big deal. So, I mean, Frank started it. It's now normalized, but that was crazy back then.
Yeah, I mean, no one had ever seen anything like that before. At Frank's first show, the manager of the Paramount Theater was there.
Yes.
And he went up to a musician that was pretty well known at the time, named Benny Goodman.
Yes.
And he said, "Hey, Benny, how would you like to play a show with Frank Sinatra?" And you know what Benny said? "Who the hell is Frank Sinatra?" And after that moment, Frank made a pact to himself, and he said, "Nobody will ever not know who I am again." And it happened.
It happened. Oh, my gosh. But think about it, though. Benny Goodman is huge at that time.
He's
you know?
the king of swing.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, well, Frank not only became the big singer, but he became the big movie actor. Like, I mean, that just like put him on a trajectory where it's like he couldn't go any further. And he kind of hit a bit of a plateau.
Well, I would say he even hit a bit of a valley.
Yeah, like a nosedive.
Because there was a lot of things that were happening. Like, so he got really successful in the early 40s, during World War II. And there was a lot of things that happened that made the public kind of not like him so much around this time.
Yeah, Frank was a bit of a communist. Well, in the beginning, he was always very vocal about certain things. Like in the beginning with the movie pictures, he was talking about how the corporations were coming into the movies and that was making it unfair for the actual movie makers. So he's very vocal about that. He hated FDR's New Deal, like sending out all this like Social Security and all that stuff like that. He had a big problem with that. And then it came around to the 40s and the 50s with the witch hunt and the McCarthy trials and stuff like that. And Frank was like, "I'm a witch." No, I'm just kidding.
And also, he didn't support segregation, so that makes him a communist, apparently.
Exactly.
That's what people were saying. That's literally what they were saying. But also, they were pissed at him because he wasn't in the war.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, look at this fucking... We're over here dying for our country, and this guy just over here singing, and all of our women are going crazy. What's this fucking draft dodger doing?"
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So people were starting to hate on him because of that.
Yeah, but then he tried to join the army, but he couldn't because
Didn't he have some kind of like foot
he had the
thing?
problem with his ear.
Oh, yeah.
So he couldn't go in. So he could only do like
He had a burst eardrum, right? From the forceps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is crazy. Can we say how crazy it is that this guy had only one eardrum?
Yeah.
And he's
And was
the
a
most
singer.
famous singer ever? Mm-hmm. That's wild.
Yeah. That is crazy. But yeah, so he did something in the army which was like really minimal. I think it was just like taking pictures or something like that. But he had to shut a lot of people up because they were telling him he wasn't going to war and stuff. And he was like, "Look, man, I know you're fighting Italy. I know you're mad and I know I'm Italian, but
I can't fight my own people."
Exactly. And I sing real nice.
Send me to the Pacific. Yeah, so... Well, there was that, and then there was also, at this point, he was having a very public affair with Ava Gardner.
Yes. And I mean, they say that he and Ava Gardner was married, but did he ever divorce Nancy Sinatra?
He did.
Okay.
He did.
All right.
Yeah.
I swear he was married to both of them at the same time.
He literally... Well, so obviously, when he was getting big, like, Nancy knew that he was, fooling around a little bit. And he was kind of like, whatever. They still had, like, 3 kids.
Yeah.
After this time. But then the thing with Ava is like they was like literally like in the press all the time. It's like you can't really ignore this shit.
Right.
And now that all this controversy is happening, his career is taking a bit of a dip.
Yeah, people sided with Nancy.
Yeah. And so Nancy, I believe, divorced him.
Okay.
And then him and Ava married like that same year or something, like really quick. So like the timeline is like I totally see why you would like think that, because it's like the timeline is like this.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I swear that he was just still married and just fooling around with Ava Gardner. But whatchamacallit, that was a tumultuous relationship.
Yes.
Really, really crazy. Frank did not really like want to let Ava go. Sometimes he threatened he would commit suicide if they broke up. It was pretty unhealthy.
They were two firecrackers, basically.
Yeah, he was very hot-tempered.
And so is she.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily a good mix for a stable, loving relationship.
No. Toxic. Okay? And they're not good.
A little bit toxic.
A little bit. But what a beautiful-looking couple.
That's true.
We'll give them that.
Well, you don't get to be in the movies for nothing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Frank.
Mm-hmm. You good-looking people. You.
You devils, you. Yeah, so his career was going down a little bit. And what actually brought him up was a movie that I actually haven't seen. Have you seen From Here to Eternity?
No.
I haven't either. I wanted to watch it before this, but I just didn't have enough time. But apparently he saw this role somewhere, like somebody he knew said something about it, and he was like, "You don't understand. I am this character." It was I really wish I saw the movie so I could talk more about it. Sorry, I'm just talking bullshit right now. But I know that is what brought him back to prominence, because he won an Oscar for it.
Yes.
For Best Supporting Actor. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
I mean, he's a good actor, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't his only movie role. He did a lot of movies.
Tons of movies.
And that obviously helped him, regain his star status and all that good stuff. But the thing that's important, I feel like this is really important to say, like, in his story. Like, when you're talking about, like, the pre-downfall Sinatra, the songs are all just very, like, lovey and, like, very, like, pretty much very happy.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of surface level type stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, after he had the dip and then, his wife divorced him and his career isn't going well and blah, 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 and he kind of crawled his way back and he fought his way back, I feel like listening to the music after that, you hear a lot more humility in it.
Yeah.
Like, he's more of a deep person. Like, you can tell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something that's really cool that I think you can really notice.
Yeah. That's probably why he went to the director like that for the movie role. It's just like he had a real good, like, self-awareness moment.
Yeah.
And was like, I can do this a different way, probably. I think.
I understand.
You know what I mean? I know what I've been doing wrong. So, yeah. I love his later music. I find his earlier music is cool, but he's doing a bunch of jazz covers that everybody does, Night and Day and all these other songs, and it's just like, woo, that's cool. But the later music is the best. His image kind of changed, he was more like a crooner. He puts the hat on, and just like Frosty, that is when the magic happens.
That's right. So let's take a second to talk about why he's so good and why he's so memorable even over 100 years after he's been born. It's not only the complete vocal control that he had and the smoothness of whatever, he's a baritone.
Yeah.
And the smoothness of the baritone, but it's also something that we've talked about all the time. The thing that stands out to me the most about him is his phrasing.
Yeah.
His phrasing is amazing. And I didn't mean to rhyme that. But because this is the thing, like we talked about this many times, like he never sings on the beat where you think he's going to sing on the beat.
Right.
And it's one thing hearing it on the recordings, and I didn't really understand what that was until I tried to sing along to Sinatra recordings. And every time I started the line, I was just a little bit off. I was a little before him or I was a little bit after him. It was really hard to start and stop exactly when he did. But then the other thing is I watched live videos of him. And it's even crazier what he would do live. I would literally, there's been videos that I've seen of him singing live where I'm listening to the measure. And I know what the line is. And it'll start the measure. And he'll wait so long to start the line. Like, he'll have such a long pause that in my head, I'm like, how is he going to fit this in before the next line? Like, this is crazy. But he always does it. And it doesn't even seem like he's forcing it.
Yeah.
It just seems so natural.
I love the beauty of Frank Sinatra's voice. Two things I think are really great about his voice is, one, when he sings, everybody in the crowd feels like he's singing to them specifically. Everyone says that. And then also, he always sings like he's talking to you. So that's that's part of the phrasing. It's like, when somebody's going to tell you a story or starts with a conversation, you don't know exactly when they're going to start. They take a breath, or they wait, or they roll their eyes or something like that. And it's like, that's what he's doing with the music.
Right.
He's taking his moment, and then he's going to say it not like a song, but say it like a person's telling you a story.
Right.
It's the best part.
And that, I think, it also has to do with kind of the technology of the day, because now that you have better microphones now. Because like back in the day, like singing before a microphone is screaming, basically. Like if you had to sing before a microphone, like if you're an opera singer, it's just at the top of your lungs. Like how loud can you do it?
Right.
But now you find yourself in a situation where you're in, a recording studio or radio booth or whatever, and you have this microphone right here in your face. So you don't have to yell. You can be a little more like tender with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now the end is near. He's not yelling that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think the technology of the time allowed a little more nuance than before. And I think he really excelled at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Other singing tips from Frank Sinatra. When you're singing, you don't just blow it out of your throat. You got to blow it out your butt.
Yeah.
You got to pull up from really low and blow it out from there.
You need to start low and bring the breath all the way up through your body and out through your mouth. But yeah, it's great. And his breath control, like he used to, there was like some, damn, I'm blanking now. It was like a saxophonist or something that I really loved that he tried to like emulate like when he was taking breaths. Like things like that of like really getting like the breath control down.
That's cool.
Which is also crazy that this is a person that couldn't read music. But he had just the most noticeable and the most memorable voice ever.
Yeah.
Like,
I heard that he used to love to watch Billie Holiday sing, and he used to want to emulate her sometimes in a way as well, the different ways that she sang. And it's like now that I hear her voice in my head as I'm talking, they are quite similar, the two of them, right? They're telling you a story, and it's not necessarily sing-songy.
right.
But it's coming out like conversation.
Yeah.
And that's really nice.
And you can tell like in his singing style how big of a jazz fan that he is and how he comes from like a jazz background because it's like I was talking before about like the pauses. And it kind of makes me think of like a Miles Davis thing of like it's more important what you don't play.
Right.
I feel like Frank was doing kind of the vocal version of that.
Yeah.
Like he would let the pause, or he would wait until starting the line, then after he still pause after the line so it sinks in. You know what I mean? He's not just throwing notes and crazy runs all over the place. I've never heard him do a crazy run.
No.
You know what I
mean?
Doobie
doo. Do 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 do. That's the most running.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's the man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like bubbles, bangles, and beads. He goes bubbles, bangles, see how they jing-jing-a-ling-a, like that. That's so cool how he does that, right? Like, it's like you're like floating kind of with him. You don't know exactly where he's going to drop, and he's like, bubbles, bangles, and beads, and then it just goes away.
I feel like he almost was doing that at some point just to like have fun with the audience.
Oh,
like,
man.
Think about like Fly Me to the Moon. Think about how it ends. I love do you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You would expect it, like your ear wants you to be like, I love you. Like that's where like a basic understanding of like singing or like phrasing would be. But he just completely does not do that. He's like, what is the most opposite of that I can do?
Yeah.
Let me put like a whole measure in between the line and the last word. You know what I mean?
What a great. They don't make them like they used to.
They don't. Damn.
All right, let's go down.
I need
the
more
line.
friends from Hoboken.
I know. We need those guys. We need Frankie Valli. We need all those guys to come over.
Are they from Hoboken too?
They're from Jersey. I think
Jersey somewhere.
Yeah. But up that side, Bergen County, I like to call it.
We're just gonna go with that they are from
that. They all know each other. Okay,
Yeah.
Joe Pesci, Frankie Valli, and Frank Sinatra all used to hang out and eat hot dogs.
And Joey Diaz.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bergen County. So Frank, things are going way better with the career. Not so much in the personal life. life. The whole back and forth with Ava, it got a little too much.
Yeah.
They divorced.
Yes.
In 1957, I believe. And he's still pumping out movies. I remember, like, Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah, which
was a
is
big
an excellent one.
Yeah, there's other big movie roles that he had that I just can't think of off the top of my head right now. But
MGM loved him.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a good contract with them. But he kind of got bored with doing movies. And he needed kind of a new outlet, more or less. So I don't really know how this came about exactly. Well, actually, you know what? I think I do.
All right.
Because he has a few, like we mentioned before, he has a few friends that are maybe some unsavory characters. And during this time, these unsavory characters were trying to make a new tourist attraction.
Yes.
In the middle of the fucking desert.
Yes. Why not?
Which sounds terrible when you just say it like that. It really doesn't sound like a good time. But we're talking about Las Vegas, obviously.
Yes.
And before Frank, Las Vegas was kind of just like a seedy little town off the highway where just like you go there, you can gamble. It wasn't like a show.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh, there's events happening. You know, it was just kind of like, a place to go do degenerate shit.
Yeah.
But Frank and his boys, a.k.a. the Rat Pack, they made that shit a show.
Yeah. They said, we're going to go out to Vegas, we're going to perform, and you guys are going to like it. So they made it a real tourist attraction. The mobsters, the Teamsters really built up Vegas. They did put a lot of their their gambling casinos and stuff. Took a lot of stuff from the street, put it into felted tables, and decided to lacquer up some dice. And they went out to Vegas, and Vegas became a really big attraction for big band playing music, jazz style music, people that wanted to take vacations and not seem like they're degenerates.
We're just going for the shows.
Exactly.
Yeah. But basically, I mean, I'm sure Vegas would have got, it would have became a big attraction at some point. But them being there, the Rat Pack, I mean, I don't even... So obviously there's Sammy Davis Jr., there's Dean Martin. There's the two guys, I can never remember their name. But we'll put it up on the screen. But when they were there, they really transformed the city. I mean, it's like if they didn't do that at that time, the history of Las Vegas would have been completely different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I mean, they really made it a show.
Yeah. And their shows were great shows because it wasn't just people singing on stage and then they're saying goodnight, I'm going to go home. It wasn't dance routines or anything. It was like an actual banter between 4 guys on the stage, 4 or 5 guys. They'll involve the audience. You can actually feel like you're talking to Frank Sinatra or you're talking to Sammy Davis Jr. as they, stand up on stage and look all regal and important and stuff. Like, it's insane.
It's like, you're all part of this.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. They're having their little drinks on stage.
Yeah, I heard a lot of times that it was apple juice.
For Dean,
yeah, okay.
I think Frank was really drinking, but I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I did hear that Dean Martin wasn't actually drinking though a lot of the time. That was that was the shtick.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna come out and play some songs for you guys. Hey.
I love it. I love the comedy of it. Like watching those shows was really exciting. They get on stage and they're like, "Hey, how long have I been on?" And that's like. Hilarious. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, things. I mean, at this point, Sinatra's already a legend, basically.
Yes.
And things keep happening with him as far as his personal life. Should we talk about his next wife, or should we talk about his son first?
Let's talk about Frank Jr.
So Frank Jr. was kidnapped.
Yeah.
But actually, before we even get into this, let me just say something. I never really like it when people name their sons like Junior because I feel like it's not really fair.
Yeah.
Especially if you're someone that's done a lot with your life. I feel like being Frank Sinatra Jr. would kind of suck.
Yeah.
Like, not obviously, like, he grew up pretty well off, so that's nice. But, like, you have to live your life, your whole life in your dad's shadow, no matter what. And you're never going to be your dad.
No.
Nobody's your dad.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not, I don't know. I always feel weird about that.
Yeah, he sang a little bit, but then he also did other things. Last time I remember seeing his face, he was on The Sopranos. He was in a gambling game at the Sopranos, looking like his dad in his old age, which seemed weird to me because it's like, that means his dad would have been 100.
Yeah.
If you see Frank Sinatra Jr. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, but anyway, he was kidnapped.
Yeah.
For a ransom of $240,000, which back in the day, it's, I mean, that's a lot now, obviously, but back in the day, it's a lot more. I mean, that's probably worth at least $1 million now, right?
Yeah. Somewhere up there.
Somewhere up there.
854,675.
And 99 cents. But yeah, so they straight up kidnapped his kid because they know Frank Sinatra's got money.
Yes.
But what they should have thought about is that they should have known that he's connected with the mafia.
Yeah, and everybody knows where you're at when you're connected with the mafia.
I feel like that just wasn't a good idea. Like, how did you think this was going to go?
If I were Frank, they call you up, they're like, we got your kid, we're holding for a ransom. This is where Frank goes. Keep him. See what you get. That's what he said.
But here's the other thing. So this all goes back to the mob.
Yeah.
So at this point, the president is a Mr. John F. Kennedy.
Yes.
Who was also involved with some of these people.
Yeah, and they felt that Frank kind of helped get him in the White House, didn't he? Because he made a whole jingle jangle, high hopes, right? Yeah. And that helped the Teamsters get Kennedy in office because they thought that Kennedy was going to side with them over a couple of things Teamstery.
And he might have if it wasn't for his brother Robert, who was very against the mafia.
Who was the big old DA at that time. Imagine them arguing, Bobby, I'm trying to get this deal done. And he's like, you keep sticking your nose in our business.
Let me do my thing. I know that you appointed me, but let me do my thing. Okay, so, but here's the thing. This is why I'm getting back to that. So he was friends with these mafia people that were also friends with the president. Mm-hmm. So his son gets kidnapped, and he basically reaches out to the president and was like, yo, can you get the FBI on this, like, ASAP? Exactly. And they got him back within, like, a couple of days.
Yeah.
And they got, like, all the money back.
Exactly. They got him back tonight.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're somebody that's going to kidnap someone, you're probably a little desperate. But I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, how did you think that was going to go well? Like, it's just not a good idea.
It's so weird to just, like, get into the mind of a criminal. It's just like, especially someone that's going to kidnap Frank Sinatra's kid. It's just like, where are you going to go in this country? Because it's obviously, you only have the money to stay in this country. Right. You know, where would you possibly go?
I don't know. That whole story is just so crazy to me. I'm like, how did you think this was going to end up? But whatever. So they got him back. Yes. And then Frank's like, you know what? I haven't been married for long enough, so I think I need a new wife. Mm-hmm. So he married another actress. Yes. Named Mia Farrow, who was like 20 at the time. Yeah. And he was like 50 something. Yeah. There's like 30 years difference between them. Yeah. And
foreshadowing.
So not only is there a huge age difference, but just like their general like life philosophies
are completely different, Frank.
completely different.
I don't even see that making sense. Like, I could see why he would date somebody that's 30 years younger than he is, but I could see why she would date somebody that's like 30 years older than she is.
Who's also a legend
in Hollywood.
And is a beautiful man.
Yeah, but it's just like talking with each other. I'm sure he's like a world traveler and everything like that, but like philosophically, I can't see her seeing him as like the type of person to have a conversation with over and over again.
Yeah, so they were married for like 14 months, 14, 16 months. Yeah. Shocker. Yeah, so then that happened. Well, should we talk about Elvis? A little bit about Elvis.
Frank hated Elvis. He ain't no king.
Well, rock and roll was kind of coming for the throne, and it was spearheaded by a man named Elvis. Yeah. So Frank might not have been too happy about that. But when Elvis went to the army, he came back, and him and Frank did sing together on TV.
They did.
And that's a nice little fun video.
That is.
And their voices sound great together.
They do. Let me hear your votes. Who's better looking, Frank or Elvis?
Well, what year?
Heyday years.
My vote?
Yeah.
Honestly, probably Elvis.
Yeah, I'm voting for Elvis. But it's those eyelashes. You can't. Once a guy's got really nice eyelashes, it's over for all the others.
Yeah, but it's funny. We were talking about that. I'm like, that makes sense because I feel like when you think about this period of the 20th century of like the biggest stars of music, all the big people hated the next biggest person. Yeah. Right? Because Elvis was hated on by Frank for a while, and then Elvis fucking hated the Beatles when they came about. He was like, "What? All these girls, they used to cheer like that for me. What's this? These guys, they talk all funny and shit, and then look at this. I'm the king.
In the mirror, Elvis.
I'm the king. Okay? Did you forget?" Yeah. So I don't know. I just think it's funny how that happens.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Passing the torch. They don't do it too nicely.
But I think the Beatles were cool with Zeppelin, maybe.
Yeah, well, they had to be. I just felt like they had to be. Yeah, you have no choice. It's like once a guy grows his hair out and rips his shirt open, it's like, what are you going to do?
And also the Beatles weren't even around then, so it's like, you know what I mean? But anyway, now we're getting totally off topic. Off topic. So Frank, at this point, like we were saying before, he's already a total legend.
Yeah.
I mean, he's won Oscars. He's sold so many albums. He's had so many amazing songs.
Mm-hmm. He's sold out the garden.
He sold out the garden many, many times.
Many times.
So at this point, he's just like, what do I even do now?
Yeah. I've been everywhere. I've been to Radio City. I've been to Carnegie. I've been to the Garden. Where else do I go? The Paramount, MGM.
That's right. So he's like, I think I'm going to retire. Mm-hmm. I think I'm just going to, sit on a beach and just relax with my thoughts and not have to deal with all these commitments and blah, 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 blah. That didn't last very long. No. No. I feel like Frank Sinatra was like, I'm still living? Damn, I still got more to go, so let me do it. Yeah, no, he's the kind of guy, he can't just sit there and do nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so he took like 3 years off, which is solid. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, you're Frank Sinatra. You don't have to worry about money. Right. You don't have to worry about anything. Anywhere you go, everyone loves you. Mm-hmm. So he's like, yeah, I'm just spend 3 years and basically just like enjoy everything that I've worked for. Yeah. But eventually he came back. And he came back with a vengeance. Because he's like, you know what? I took 3 years off. I'm touring everywhere. Yeah. I'm going everywhere I can possibly can. And at this point, I mean, he already came out with like My Way, which is like his like signature song, one of them. So it's like he's still putting out amazing music the whole time that he's putting out music. And it's just like there's no reason to not give the people what they want. We want Frank. We want Frank. We want Frank. And Frank, he did it. Yeah. And he was just... How'd he do it? Your way? Or his way? All right. No other way. And he was just... I mean, it's just crazy when you think about it. He really was just on top, really until he died. I mean, when he got, a little older, obviously, there's health problems, especially when you're smoking and drinking your whole life and, blah, blah, blah. So, obviously, towards the end, he wasn't, a star as he was. Yeah. But for the rest of his life, it's like, this is the king of America. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is a legend. Everyone knows who this is. Exactly. I love the different hairstyles of Frank Sinatra. I love the wispy teenage cut. I love the pushback. And I love the little gray Caesar that he came with when he got into his older age. It was a Caesar haircut. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. He's got a shout out to the Romans. That's his ancestry. The inventors of olive oil. Yeah, fun fact. Well, this isn't really... I don't know if this is a fun fact, but I read about this recently. Apparently, he died during the series finale of Seinfeld. Like, as the episode was on. Yeah. So nobody knew that he had died until, like, after. Oh, man. I don't know why. I just thought that was so crazy. Because I think in my head, like, you think of Frank Sinatra, you think of, like, mid-20th century. You think of, 40s to 60s, really, as, like, the heyday. Mm-hmm. So it's weird thinking of that and Seinfeld happening at the same time. That just sounds like a Seinfeld episode, though. Jerry finishes rapping at some show, he's done, and somebody's like, hey, Frank Sinatra. It's like, oh, we're about to put the finale on TV on NBC right now. Yeah. Frank Sinatra just died. Oh. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Or like he gets stuck in the traffic, or he's on the way to a show, and Jerry gets stuck in this traffic, and he's like, what's all this fucking traffic? He's like, oh, it's the funeral procession for Frank Sinatra. He's like, but I got a show, but I love Frank, but I gotta go to the show. I'm gonna pick the show. Sounds like an episode. Exactly. Yeah. I like to think about like Frank sitting and writing music. Like, let's say something like My Way. Like, that's so truthful. But that's the thing, is he didn't even write it. Right. He did not. Paul Anka wrote that song. Paul Anka wrote the song. And it's like, but when you think about it, the way he sings it, it's like, it's really truthful. Well, that's another, talking again about why he's so amazing, that's another gift that he had, is like, he didn't write any of these songs. Right. Yeah, correct. I'm correcting myself. Right. I like to think about him singing these songs. He did not write his songs because, like, with singers, like, your proof is in your actual instrument, your voice. So anybody can write your songs. You're not a rapper, so you don't have to write your voice, your words down, and you don't have to prove yourself with your instrument playing it. Right. So it's your vocal instrument. But I just love to think about him thinking about the songs and how they translate to his life. Right. Like something like My Way, and then something like New York, New York. Like, you can feel that, and you can read his story, and you can actually see that that's all true. Yeah. Like, and that makes me think too, like, I'm really just thinking about that now. I'm like, was he just super gifted at making songs his own, or did he only accept songs that he knew he would connect with? You know what I mean?
I'm going to go with the latter.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fun fact, there's a song by a band Chicago called Color My World that Frank wanted to cover. But he said to the writer, James Pankow, I want to cover this song, but it needs another verse. And James was like, nah, not doing it. Which is so wild to me. If Frank Sinatra came up and was like, I want to sing one of your songs, but it needs another verse, I'd be like, I'll write you a verse in 5 minutes. Frank, please sing my song.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But by that time, Chicago was already, like, kind of stapled in.
yeah, but still, it's just wild. Like, Frank Sinatra calls you, hey, I want to sing this song. Can you just write a little bit more of it? No.
And James is like, I'm Pack the House Pankow.
You don't know me?
You don't know me. And guys, we've talked about a lot of artists like Billie Holiday and Chicago. Check out our podcasts on those people too.
Yeah, but as far as Frank goes, I mean, like we said before, he's an absolute icon. I mean, I feel like you could go pretty much anywhere in the world to this day and they would know who Frank Sinatra is.
I think so too. I don't like that the only shirt they have of him is the arrest record shirt, even though that's a cool shirt. And we didn't even really talk about why he got arrested. So he's like parked, right? You guys know that term. So he's parked with a lady who happens to be married, and she's well known in her town. So the police show up and they knock on the window, and they're like, what are you kids doing down there? And she starts screaming that she's being raped immediately. Right? Because she doesn't want the embarrassment of fooling around with this 20-year-old kid. I think he was 20 at that time. He's really young.
Something like that, yeah.
So she doesn't want that embarrassment. So she starts screaming rape right away. So they arrest Frank right away and put him away. And it's so funny because none of this stuff will get you arrested now. But
rape?
No. Oh.
Wait. What do you mean?
They got him for like adultery.
Oh, like the actual charge.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah. He wasn't raping that lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, fooling around parking with a married lady in a car will not get you arrested now.
I think technically if you're naked in the car, you could still be arrested for indecent exposure.
Yes, you definitely can. And there are definitely city limit spots like in Rockland County and stuff where you can park, but you're not allowed to fool around in there because you could get in trouble for that.
But anyway, Frank got out of jail.
And
he continued to make amazing music.
Yeah.
That we listen to this day.
Today.
And I was just telling Sifa right before, I was on the subway on the way here today, and I literally, on the way to record this podcast, I walked by someone playing My Way on the violin in the train station.
Insane.
And I'm like, this guy, his fingerprints are everywhere, especially in New York City.
Yeah, absolutely. And like when we decided we were going to go do the podcast, when I got home, somebody was singing karaoke My Way just the same day. So it's like Frank is everywhere.
Yeah, and it's just like another thing, like I was just listening to a lot of Frank, obviously preparing for this, and I kind of just forget how many songs he has that are super known.
It's too many to mention.
It's way too many to mention.
Like if we went through like every single year, can you think about somebody born in 1915, what they saw in life, and then he lived until the 80s? It's just like
90s.
I mean, and he saw wars. He saw like so many different civil unrests and so many different things.
Wars, both hot and cold.
What's the hot war? Imagine. The hot war.
There's a lot of heat. You know what I mean?
The hot war's in the Caribbean. It was Panama. It was Noriega.
Hot war's in Japan.
It's too much wasabi.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what else to say about Frank. I feel like this has actually been relatively short. But everyone knows Frank. He's the best. There's a reason that you guys want to watch something about Frank. There's a reason you want to hear about Frank because he might be in the running unofficial title. He might be in the running for coolest motherfucker that's ever lived. Like Frank Sinatra, Jimi Hendrix.
I think Sammy's cooler than Frank.
Sammy Davis.
Yeah.
Jr. It's a short list though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's up there. And I don't think he'll be forgotten.
No. Can we make an honorable mention to Nancy Sinatra Jr., another junior?
For the music?
Yeah, because I love that song. My mom hated that song. She was like, my
Yeah.
mom's like, that's the dumbest song. And when it came out, I couldn't stand it. I was like, I love this song.
Yeah.
It's got a great bass line.
That's true. She had some other good songs too.
Yeah.
Like, I shot my baby down.
Yeah.
I think that was her first.
Bang
and
Bang.
Then Bang Bang. And then her dad covered that song. I don't remember the order.
Her dad did do that because I can hear his voice doing it in my head.
I just don't remember who did it first.
Oh, I'm gonna say.
Tell us in the comments, people.
I'm gonna say Frank because he was born first. No, I'm just kidding.
He was older, so he did everything first. This is how it works. Yeah. So shout out to that. Shout out to Kill Bill because that's how I know that song.
Aw.
Yeah. But Frank will live on forever. As long as people can listen to recorded music, people are going to be listening to Frank Sinatra.
Absolutely.
And that's just is what it is. I have nothing else to say. So we will end by saying thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
Yep.
We hope you love Frank as much as we do.
Yeah.
Like we said before, this is a conversation between two of us here, but it's also a conversation between everybody watching. So anything that you want to say, if you think we got something wrong, if you disagree with anything we're saying, if you think we should have added more, definitely tell us. We always want to increase our musical knowledge, so we really appreciate you taking the time. And that's pretty much it. If you like the podcast, check us out, patreon.com/musicmaniacs to support us so we can keep making more episodes and make better content, get better cameras and equipment and all that good stuff.
I want a Rolls Royce.
Okay, guys.
I want to do the podcast in a Rolls.
I was gonna say our new goal is to set up a podcast studio in a Rolls Royce, and we need your help because we can't do it by ourselves. All right, so it's up to you. No pressure. But until then, we're Sign After Dark.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time.
Later.